Have you ever come across a piece of art completely by accident, and that work of art be so beautiful and wondrous that it shocks you to your very core? A piece of art that brought you on a journey that you didn't know you need to go on, and you weren't really prepared for, and when it was over it left you so completely changed that you struggled to remember the person you were before, only to realize that you didn't really like that person you were before. Has this work of art hung around your mind for days, weeks, and years after you've consumed it? Has there been moments in your life that you have been brought back to this work of art for moral support, ethical advice, artistic inspiration, or just to feel what it's like to love? When I was a child, I loved television, so much so that I would often sneak out of my room at night, creep down the stairs to the living room, and sit with my nose inches from the warm glow of the television screen. I would slowly turn the giant volume knob of the old television way down to 0 before I turned it on, and then I'd slowly click it back up to 1 and 2. Just to make sure it wasn't going to be too loud. The knobs themselves made a lot of noise, so I would turn them slowly. This was before we had cable or a remote. Those types of TVs were common at this time, but we couldn't afford one. We had one TV that only showed what can be picked up from the rooftop antenna. This meant there was limited options on what to watch. The dial on the TV, from what I recall, had 20 channels or so, I think. There were 13 primary channels, and 2 of them, 13 and 8, were PBS, or public broadcasting. There was also a separate switch that would turn the knob into higher frequencies. I think it was VHF and UHF. The UHF ones were mostly snow, but sometimes if you squinted your eyes and you got a good signal, you can pick up some porn. The main broadcasting networks were NBC. That had the must-see TV stuff. Later on in the years, it would have Friends, Seinfeld, Mad About You, and a third show that really tried its best.
I use my breath to get attention. We both do that.
And on an all-new Seinfeld, Jerry, a doorman.
Yeah.
And Kramer, a mugger.
Is that all you got, fat boy?
Fox, that always had Simpsons. CBS sometimes had some good stuff on there. ABC had the stuff I liked when I was much younger. That was the TGIF's crowd. That was Full House, Family Matters, Step by Step, and a third show that really tried its best. Let's run through the channels that I would go through. So, number 1, you had public access. This is where people would basically pay money to be on TV.
Well, you mean from your ant farm?
Then you had CBS, number 2. 3, that was the Spanish channel.
Que hora es?
4, that's NBC. 5 is Fox. 6 was infomercials. 7 was ABC. 8, as I said, was PBS, or public broadcasting. That's where you see Sesame Street in the morning and usually news channels at night. 9 was the UPN, which later changed to the WB and the CW, and they really didn't have any good programming until much later in the years. 10 was Spanish infomercials. And 11 was WPIX, which later turned into the WB. Channel 12 was local news. And 13 was another PBS station. So usually I would sneak down sometime around 10 or 11 at night. Most prime TV channels would be airing their news programs at that time. One channel I really loved was WPIX 11, before it became the WB. Channel 11 would always have the late movie starting sometime around 11:30, and then they would even have the late movie on weekends that would start after that movie finished. This was the best TV watching time for a young boy like myself. This was the first time I saw movies like Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Ghost, RoboCop 3. Side note, I saw RoboCop 3 first and thought these movies were terrible. But that first one's actually really good. Now, PBS, in my mind, aired Sesame Street in the morning, and in the afternoon and night, there was a mixed bag of entertainment. There would be lots of British-looking made-for-TV movies that, for some reason, allowed full nudity. This is the reason I watched the entire film adaptation of Mole Flanders at least 3 times, because the last half hour of that had at least 2 sex scenes with full nudity. Again, public broadcasting for your entertainment and for your education. But this night, it was showing a musical stage performance of a Broadway adaptation of Les Misérables. I, at the time, had no idea what this was. I was aware that there was a Broadway play called Les Mis, because I lived in the tri-state area and I would often see commercials for Cats, Miss Saigon, Les Mis, and others that played on Broadway.
The world's most thrilling theatrical event. Cats. The magic, the mystery, the memory will live forever. Cats.
The commercials don't really inform you about any of the plot details of these musicals.
It's 239-6200 for Les Misérables, the musical that makes history 8 times a week at the Broadway Theater.
So I'm slowly cranking around the dial and I can't find anything to watch. But every time I pass over PBS, I start staying longer and longer on this stage play.
Milk just does a body.
Well, at MCI, I had some very funny materials in their commercials. They said,
Listen, I wanted to ask you about aluminum siding.
Has got a first-hand look at the destruction.
So many things unknown.
Death in Canaan. In
Hola!
Disappear. Some run away, but a lot are kidnapped by...
I believe I started to watch Les Mis sometime around the song Red and Black. It sounded like a fighting song. Something cool was about to happen with
Don't
it.
let the wine go to your brains. For the army we fight is a dangerous foe, with the men in the arms that we never could match.
Even though it was just a stage concert and not an actual play. So all the information I'm getting is just from the music. The actors were in costume, but they weren't acting out the actual play. They weren't moving around the stage or conversing with each other. They were all just at a microphone. It's a wild introduction to this story, and I didn't even really start to pay attention until the third act. So there I am, in rapt attention to this musical that is so absolutely breathtaking. These songs are really powerful and moving, and I believe I was getting just enough of the plot to get it. So it's getting to be late at night. I probably have school tomorrow, but I wanted to see where this all winds up, so I stayed up to the end. And the big problem in those days, especially with PBS, was the commercials were terrible, and each break was always the same commercial. Or it would be employees of PBS begging you for money, or some B-list celebrity offering you a tote bag in exchange for a donation. What real 90s kids called reusable bags before they were popular.
To you. Call 7.
But I stayed the course. I watched to the end. I recall that they did show some video footage of the stage production at a few points, and that really helped me wrap my head around the story and what was going on. But I really didn't know how these people related to each other. In the concert, there was more singing at the end. There was a curtain call for another rendition of One More Day. The actors from different countries who played Valjean all come on stage and do You Hear the People Sing? And those are the two best songs, so I stayed through those performances as well. Then something miraculous occurred. PBS never had a lot of programs, so sometimes they would just replay the same thing again, especially late at night. And that's what was about to happen. You have to remember that this was before the days where there was a guide loaded onto the TV. Back in the Wild West of TV, if you didn't get the TV guide or a local paper, did I mention poverty? You just had to channel surf and find something to watch. And sometimes you would have no idea what you were watching. You would sometimes say things to your friends like, hey, what's the name of this movie we're watching? And they would have no idea either. It's very frustrating. Now it's late. I should go to bed. But I wanted to see where the story started. And let me say, this first song, just the first beat, hits me every time. The song is actually in my sad music playlist. It's what I play when I'm sad. It reminds me that sometimes you have to endure hardships in life. But as a kid, I was like, wait, this starts in prison? This is crazy. I watched for a while and again I was in rapt attention. The only thing that snaps me out of my trance was the terrible commercial breaks.
5,000 or 1-800-475-7100. And now back to Mark.
Every commercial I see, I do a time check, and I go, okay, it's 12:15. I can go to bed at 1 and still get up and deal with school tomorrow.
To work even faster purchasing the programs that you depend upon.
Wait, what's this? A priest? A pastor? A bishop? Ah, he gives him the silver he stole. Oh, that's why this guy is so good. Huh, just one little act of kindness. Is that what this is all about? By the way, I had to be thinking what Les Mis meant at this time. It's French, I guess I deducted, and I had to figure out it meant miserable. I don't know. Oh, wow, I get it. This musical is about miserable people who are having a hard time in life. And this one priest, or rabbi or whatever, he does one act of kindness to this miserable man, and then he does a kindness to this woman. Oh wait, this isn't the same woman from the end. I wonder what's going on. Oh, she dies. Oh, okay. Oh, but he can help her child. Ooh, okay. Oh, hey, it's that guy from the sewer. Hey, this guy's fun. I didn't know I was going to be laughing at this. Oh, damn, another commercial. Okay, it's 1 p.m. now, and I have not seen anything I saw in the first viewing. I have to be close. I'll give it another 30 minutes. How long is this thing? You have to remember, again, without a guide, you had no idea. You had no idea about these things. Let me check the 7 snow channels again. See if there's a late movie, maybe.
Ready? This
where someone's scared.
Duh, anyway. Yes.
Oh, you're so bad.
Okay, wow. The second act comes in on the same note as the first. Wow, this is great. Stepping out of this time for a second, I had no idea what was going on in this story. I didn't see the play itself. I just had to go off of the lyrics and what was going on the screen. Years later, I would be in Target, pushing my newborn son through the book aisle, and I would see a book with Wolverine's face on it with the title Les Misérables. I know what you're thinking. You didn't know it was a book first? Hey, poverty affects education as well. Alright, at the time I found the book, I was just starting college on my GI's bill. I assure you, I'm much more educated now. I had been aware of the musical and loved it for so long, but yet I never did any research into the origin until that 2012 movie came out, with Wolverine. And I guess they republished the book with his face on it. Now, I have seen the 2012 film, and there are good parts. Great parts even. And Russell Crowe parts. But it's not really my Les Mis. I've also seen other stage productions throughout the year. My first introduction to a movie version story was the 1998 movie with Liam Neeson. That production had no music in it, but filled in a lot of the plot that I missed in the concert. But again, no singing, no songs. All the really artistic parts were missing. Looking back on it, I'm surprised I watched that movie and never realized it was a book. Maybe that one's on me, and not the New York public school system. On January 1st, 2016, I picked up the book at my local library and made a New Year's resolution that I would read the entire unabridged novel. Oh, here we go. This is where I was. The Red and Black song. Okay, the gang's getting together. And now I know the whole story. So that girl who dies is in love with this guy, and she's the daughter of that weaselly guy who sold Cosette to Valjean, and it's all coming together now. Oh, and it's 2 a.m. That's fine. I'm just going to listen to Do You Hear the People Sing, and I'll call it a night. Well, if I've come this far, I might as well stay until one more day. Who am I kidding? Let's ride this train to the end of the station. Over the course of my life, I've returned to this musical in my thoughts. This work has taught me an invaluable lesson that I carried throughout my life. It's not something I would have watched if I was told about it. It's not a book I would have read just because somebody put it on a list of the 100 greatest books to read before you die. The lessons this work of art teaches is not something you find in modern storytelling. It's a book about soft kindness. I listen to the soundtrack often, and I've found the songs have different meanings at different stages in my life. In particular, I never thought much about empty chairs and empty tables until I saw the 2012 movie, and suddenly reminded me of returning to the US after my second tour in Iraq. Every time I put on the soundtrack, I'm brought back to all the different events in my life that are mirrored by the events in the play, like returning from Iraq, meeting my wife for the first time, becoming a father, taking a stand, being kind when it's not necessary and unpopular, and of course, that one lonely night I couldn't sleep, and I learned the lesson that even on the darkest night, the sun must rise. This has been a production of Minimum Effort Media. There are videos here on the first of every month starting in 2020. Please subscribe for more videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed the content, a negative comment if you didn't, or both if you feel indifferent. Thanks for watching.